Good morning, and welcome to part 4 of this series, Riding Across America. We are heading south to Arizona, mostly on the roads less traveled and scenic byways. I'll try to give you a glimpse of small town history, as these towns are windows to our past. As we continue along the Colorado River into Moab, the red rock formations are simply spellbinding, especially with blue skies ahead. This area has a remarkable geological history, and this area is an outdoor enthusiast paradise. As we continue down the 128 and alongside the river, I can appreciate the long journey these waters have taken. Originating in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado at over 9,000 feet above sea level, the Colorado begins its life as snowmelt and flows down through Utah and Arizona before finally reaching the Sea of Cortez. This is along the Colorado River. It's absolutely breathtaking. Highway 128. This river represents 1,450 miles of lifeblood of the American West, who are reliant on the river's flow and have been for over 12,000 years. The river has been an important source of water and life for indigenous groups living in and around this vast canyon. Indigenous groups use the river's water for agriculture and to fortify their lives in the canyon and along the rim. And today, 2 million acres of land are irrigated by water from the Colorado River for agricultural use. More water is exported from the Colorado River than any other river in the United States. Cities such as Los Angeles, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Denver, San Diego, and many other communities draw water from the Colorado River Basin for municipal and industrial use. Today is still a really windy day, and we found a pullout for a little refuge, parking behind the building from the wind, or so we thought. We were getting a latte and some lovely homemade local lunch when I went to get a table and check on the bikes, and looked out to see Jonathan's bike lift itself off its kickstand and stand straight up. It hovered in the wind as I ran flat out for both bikes, before his could take mine down with it. Fortunately, the gusts eased for a sheer moment and we were able to get out and catch it in time. That was a sight. And then we moved the bikes again to the shifting winds. That got the adrenaline going, and I hadn't even had coffee yet. Back on the bikes, every corner brought a new and impressive view. Every moment, an extra gust of wind kept you on your toes, and we wiggled our way from side to side along the rock faces. And after a few days of these winds, I'm definitely ready for a calm day, or at least a calm evening ride. Tucked away in the heart of Utah's red rock country lies the Moab Desert, a geological wonderland that attracts travelers from all around the globe. Moab is where towering rock formations rise from the desert floor, showing off their stunning red hues. These unique rock formations, known as red bluffs, are a product of millions of years of geological activity, resulting in an incredible landscape that is as beautiful as it is surreal. The area around Moab has both the oldest and the youngest rocks on the Colorado Plateau, with rocks that were formed during each of the 4 major subdivisions of geological time, from the Precambrian to the Cenozoic. Despite the great range of age in the rocks, the Mesozoic section is the area's main geologic calling card. Most rock layers that are exposed in Moab are Mesozoic in age, and you can see the varying colors of siltstones from red to gray all around you. Riding into the town of Moab, we dropped our gear at a hotel and headed back out on our bikes to visit Dead Horse Point at sunset. According to the legend, the park has this unusual name because of its earlier use as a natural corral by cowboys in the 19th century, where horses often died of exposure. The Colorado passes by Dead Horse Point State Park before entering the backcountry of Canyonlands National Park. The Colorado River, as seen here 2,000 feet below Dead Horse Point, has carved out this entrenched and meandering canyon over the last 10 to 15 million years. The sculpting of the Colorado River in Dead Horse Canyon. And just looking out onto the solar evaporation ponds and a drive-by or a flyby. Relative recent human activity has reshaped sections of the river below, and advances in technology made it possible to dam the river's canyons, creating reservoirs such as Lake Tahoe, named after the famous explorer. This river diverted water to cities in the desert. That explorer was American Civil War veteran John Wesley Powell, who in 1869 led the first successful expedition of the uncharted waters of the canyon. It was a calm and peaceful experience as we watched the supermoon rise, and we took our time and rode the beautifully quiet roads back to town for dinner. Well, it looks like I got my wish this morning, with another day in the sunshine, but happily without the massive winds, which makes for a much easier ride. We headed for the park, but the lineups were too long, so we made a U-turn for another spot we had in mind, and we were off to Wilson's Arch. Jonathan was also able to fly the drone today, which really was missed the last few days, but we just didn't want a chance losing it. He brought the smaller one along on this trip, and it's just not nearly as good in the high winds. Wilson's Arch was a great choice, and you can see how the water shapes this environment more than any other force. Rain erodes the rock and carries sediment down. Desert varnish appears where water cascades off the cliffs. We are at the Wilson Arch. Absolutely stunning. The surface coatings on the rock cliffs are typically complicated mixtures of up to 14 different types of rock coatings. They make up the patinas of desert varnish. It forms on most bare rock surfaces that are resistant to weathering, rock decay, and erosion. The thin coatings contain material from water that flows over the rock surfaces, wind-blown dust, and microorganisms, including fungi, living on the rock surfaces. Arches are formed from winter snowmelt that pools in fractures and cavities. It then freezes and expands, breaking off chunks of sandstone. Small recesses develop and grow bigger with each storm. Little by little, this process turns fractured rock layers into fins, and fins into arches. Arches also emerge when potholes near cliff edges grow deeper and deeper until they wear through the cliff wall below them. Over time, the same forces that created these arches will continue to widen until they collapse. As we enter Colorado, we come into a small town called Dove Creek, which has an interesting link to the old Spanish Trail. It was a trade route that passed through the area of Dove Creek from 1829 to the 1850s. This historical trade route connected the northern New Mexico settlements with those of Los Angeles, California, and Southern California. It was approximately 700 miles or 1,100 kilometers long and ran through areas of the high mountains, arid deserts, and deep canyons. It is considered one of the most difficult of all trade routes ever established in the United States. Parts of this trail had been known and used by Spanish since the 16th century. The trail is a combination of a network of trails first established by the indigenous people and later used by the Spanish explorers, trappers, and traders with the UTE and other indigenous tribes. Passing through the countryside and several creeks, we came around the corner to see the view of the Rockies ahead. As we carry on for the Four Corners, I'm looking forward to standing in 4 states in one moment. I know it's just a tourist spot, but I do think it's kind of a neat anomaly. This area has several historic ancestral Pueblo dwellings, which I have on my list for tomorrow's ride. In Colorado, you can visit the 11th century prehistoric settlement of Brewer Mesa Pueblo, and the 13th century Brewer Canyon Pueblo sites, among others. The Four Corners area is named after the quadra point where the boundaries of 4 states meet, and it's marked by the Four Corners Monument. It is the only location in the United States where 4 states meet. The United States acquired the Four Corners region from Mexico after the end of the Mexican-American War in 1848. In 1863, Congress created the Arizona Territory from the western part of the New Mexico Territory. Today, most of the Four Corners region belongs to the Native American nations, the largest of which is the Navajo Nation, followed by the Hopi, UTE, and Zuni tribal reserves and nations. The Navajo band has quite a bit of vendors, and they have some absolutely beautiful pieces here. It's really set up very well. Tonight, we have booked a room at the UTE Casino back into Colorado for the night. And we will look at a map and plan out a route through the quieter roads and into some open ranch lands. And I really want to visit a couple historical areas, which may mean some crisscrossing and a little backtracking. But what the heck, we're on vacation and all we have is time. And anywhere we go on these bikes is a blast. Please join us next time for part 5 as we continue into the 700-year-old Hovenweep and through Monument Valley and onwards to the incredible dinosaur tracks and a visit to Winslow, Arizona. Thank you for watching. Please click that like and subscribe, and most of all, live your adventure, and we will see you down the road.